What's up, everybody? You know that fairy tale that we're constantly fed about how everyone has equal opportunity and all you have to do is work hard, and that if you're not doing well, then it must be your own fault. This kind of bullshit, pull you up by your bootstraps attitude that, well, at least the Western society has. I wouldn't say that everyone shares that viewpoint around the world, but generally most industrialized nations have to share the mentality by default that if you're not doing well, it must be your own fault. And I guess I'm speaking on behalf of the injustice out there and those who are the victims of that injustice. They really have no voice from so many different angles. We have people who are, sold into, slavery rings. We have people who are abused as children, abused as adults. We have whistleblowers who speak out about things they see wrong in the world and then are systematically pushed down and ridiculed by their own people, if not arrested, imprisoned, or executed for treason. We have people telling us that anybody can be president when you're a kid, and then you quickly realize that most places in the world, many of these monarchies have ruled for up to hundreds of years. There are places where the same families are constantly in charge and promoting the same rules, the same laws to benefit the few and not the many. America by default was a new land, but has strayed far from what it was intended to be as a land for people to practice what they choose and have that same equality. It was never really intended for fairness. And I think that when we look around at what's going on in the world, the disparity in wealth and how it gradually gets worse, even though production has increased, even though people are able to accomplish so much more than we ever did before, and even though machinery and technology has saved us so much time, that those savings are not translated into the lives of the people who helped create that system. And because of this, as an American citizen, I know that I have many benefits that others don't have. The sake of, even if I am flat broke or in need of hospital care, I can at least get myself checked out. I can get food from the food bank if I really need to and if I'm desperate. And even though many Americans are suffering, some of the suffering that goes on elsewhere, of course, it's not a comparison, but is so much worse that the people are so used to it that they would look at being poor in America as a definite step up in life. Now, the thing that is important here is that we as citizens, as people, need to take care of each other. And there's nothing more costly to a society than when we become so divided and jaded toward one another over political views or religious views, whatever it may be, that we fail to see the true monster lurking in the corner, wherever it may be, and whatever it may be, or whoever it may be. And this is what's happened in recent years because of many people's fears of a whole variety of issues that have come up regarding work, the future of humanity, the future of jobs, college, the high prices of just living in general, and how wages have stagnated since basically 1970s when you account for inflation. Now, things are bad enough just trying to make it by day to day. And then during this COVID situation, when the very government, many of the officials who asked people to lock down for a while or that they would be taken care of, aren't even fulfilling their end of the bargain for many of the most needy. But what's worse is we are bailing out the bankers. We're constantly bailing out the people who don't deserve a damn dime. Billions were paid to, say Chase and these banks that we bailed out during 2008 financial crisis. And I believe that year they paid $3.9 billion out in bonuses to their top executives. And this was taxpayer money. Was quantitative easing, money that we had put into this. And my point here, it seems like it's a lot of different subjects. It's that we, the society, the people in this country and others, work our asses off through not just the labor that we perform, but the money that we put into the taxes and the food we buy, the taxes we put when we buy gas for our car or we have services, the taxes that we pay every time we renew our license or every time we apply for a business license. All these taxes, telephone taxes, cable tax, all these things that are supposed to benefit the people don't. And even when there's, say, a failure of an organization, a business, or a government, and there's a lawsuit involved, do you think that money goes to the victims or the people? Of course not. It goes to a general fund to be used by those who have the key to the lock. Now, at this point in time, we the people are, as I said, fighting amongst ourselves because we don't know where to point the finger exactly. There are too many different angles. It's really easy to turn people against one another, especially with the internet today. And people just have to be educated on every subject they can possibly muster the time and energy to research, and everything that they can possibly learn about their world. But like what happened the other day in Texas with this storm, and my wife showed me this tweet from a politician. I don't know if he's a senator or what, but I usually ignore these things, but he was talking about the people who didn't have water and didn't have power down in Texas, and how they should stop complaining, and that if you don't have the things you need to figure out how to take care of it, and tough crap, you could have it worse. And that in America, basically this self-sufficient attitude that is really an illusion. This idea of self-sufficiency, but failing to acknowledge that people have no problem being self-sufficient when they don't have taxes being stuffed down their throat for things like electricity and water that they're forced to pay for, that they have paid for, and that should be a utility that's maintained and regulated. And just like in California with the fires, with the faulty fire, you can't blame a power company for every fire, but if their lines are faulty and not maintained, and that's the reason for it, well, you sure as hell have to make them liable in some way. But ultimately, these come down to private and public utilities, and the people end up being the cost in the end. Even if one person wins a lawsuit, 1,000 people are paying higher costs for that electricity or for that water. And the system is completely rigged against us. And it pisses people off. And that is why people are frustrated. That's why people can't think clearly. That's why we as a society can't seem to pull our heads out of our butts and look each other in the eye and say, whoa, we're on the same page here. People are screaming about whether a person voted red or blue, when we all bleed the same, as cliche as that may be. That's the truth, Political parties are like sports teams. You go rah, 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 and when the game's over, you shake hands and walk on. That's not any longer the case. And I think that there's an underlying reason for this, which goes much deeper. And I don't want to go too far into that, because I'll probably, I could go on for hours about the problems that we have, and I don't want to focus on that. What I do want to say is that people need to feel more empowered, and I wish that the people who need their voices out there the most, are seldom heard, because they're pushed down, they're ridiculed, and like I said, sometimes even killed. And it doesn't mean that every wild idea is something that's hidden from the public. And no, I don't believe that there's some giant underlying conspiracy that everyone's been hiding. I think it's just a large group of individuals that are all under their own blanket idea of what it means to be a human. And some of these people think taking advantage of others is a good way to attain their own happiness. So we've got to look out for those people and work hard as a society to acknowledge the things we have, be grateful for that which we do have, But at the same time, you know, fight for the things that we are entitled to as a society. First, we have to figure out what those are and come to a consensus and take it back the right way, whatever that may be. The first step would be to take back your own mind, take back your own feelings, take back your own emotional intelligence, and don't let others manipulate you and tell you what is real or what is true. That goes for mainstream media as well as alternative media, which is feeding you the same line of bullshit from a different angle. I'll talk to y'all later. Thanks for coming along. And I have a couple new podcasts up right now on 15-minute free thinking. Be sure to check them out, as well as chat section on my Discord server. And I will talk to you all later. Be well.